Hey everybody, welcome back to Jeff Bull Central. I wanted to do a retro roundup gaming segment on the Episode 3 game, Star Wars 2005. A couple months ago I did one of these on the Episode 1 official game that came out in 1999. And that game, it's a cult classic, but in my opinion, not a great game. Kind of clunky, kind of stiff, kind of hard to play. Episode 3, on the other hand, by the time we got here, LucasArts could make something a little bit more special, a little bit more fun to play. I'm not going to say Episode 3 is like the greatest Star Wars game of all time. It's up there, though, as one of the best movie tie-ins, because, they don't really make movie tie-in games quite like this anymore. Only thing about this game is it's awful short. So I bought this game back in 2005 when the movie came out. I was 20 years old, okay? And at that time, I bought it a week before the movie came out. I didn't know anything about Episode 3. And I foolishly played this game, and guess what? It gives away basically the entire plot of the movie, so there were, spoilers galore for me. But the other disappointing thing about it, although it was a lot of fun, is that I beat it in a day or two, which is not great when you spend however much video games were back then, $50, $60, whatever it was, $50, I think. And you know what? I just played this yesterday on my Xbox Series X. And I beat it in a day, lo and behold. Part of that is because it's actually pretty addictive. It's actually kind of challenging, maybe again, not by like today's standards, because generally speaking, games tend to be a little bit harder nowadays, depending on the game, okay? But this has got a slight bit of challenge to it, and like I said, the saber combat is really, really fun. There's a lot of moves you can do. It's pretty clicky. I'm not going to say never. There are times where you're lost for something to stab, or you're trying to stab, and you can't actually seem to get there, use your force power or whatever. But as saber games go from this era, this is maybe one of the better ones, and I don't know that many people remember that about it. But now I do. I certainly do. Again, it tends to be a little bit aggressive about kind of like cheap shots and stuff. But again, you get through it. The other thing that's kind of funny is that health is scarce. Bacta tanks, right? Because it's Star Wars, so it's all about Bacta. So what you have to do is use your force healing ability a lot. And you can upgrade that up to 3 levels. You can upgrade all your powers and all your combat stuff. There's no skill trees like in a modern game. It's not like you can pick individual powers. It's more like you upgrade a set of powers, and that therefore gives you new abilities that you don't even really know how to use. It just kind of comes out from you, miraculously in combat. You're like, oh, cool, I can do that now. But when you're using your force healing ability, your force power charges so slowly that you'll go through this long run of like just blowing through stuff and killing all sorts of Jedi at the Jedi Temple, or slaughtering all sorts of battle droids early on in the game, or doing a cool saber combat segment, because later in the game, just like the movie, there's tons of saber combat. You have to sit there and like wait for your force to charge so you can heal yourself. So it slows the momentum. The other kind of oddish thing about it is that while it does follow the movie, and again, it spoiled the movie pretty much fully for me back then. It does this thing that a lot of all movie tie-ins of the era did, where they filled in gaps with more combat and more set pieces that are not in the movie. And normally this is okay. You don't mind so much because you don't want it to be the exact same experience as going to the theater and watching the damn movie. But in this instance, in a lot of instances back then, it was like gratuitous. It was unnecessary, and it kind of was just padding, and you could kind of tell that about it. You're like, I faced this group again, and I've done this 20 times, but you know what? I'm going to go through it because, again, later in the game, when all the saber combat happens, like, look at this epic fight between Obi-Wan and Anakin. It's just, it's good. Like, it's a lot of fun. The saber combat is a premium. I remember playing Star Wars: The Force Unleashed, which, you know, that game has a lot of fans, but I never liked it. It's like, for various reasons, okay? I don't want to get into it now because I made a video about it a long time ago, and it's like one of my most commented videos. But I always felt like this had the better saber combat. It feels more free flowing. I understand that the force powers in that game were fairly cool, but you know what? I'm kind of a purist when it comes to Star Wars Jedi games. I like the saber combat. I like the old Jedi Knight games, the old Jedi Outcast and everything like that. Jedi Knight. Those are great games. They're still classics, and they made me feel like a Jedi. Episode 2 didn't really have a tie-in. Episode 2 had, I think it had Battlefront, and there might have been some kind of weird base building, early tower defense style Star Wars game. Actually, that was kind of a cool game. I don't remember the name of it now. But anyways, this was the golden era. This was the golden era of LucasArts Star Wars games. And I know a lot of people, especially younger gamers, complain about, I notice on YouTube, on the internet, games today suck. Games today suck. Little do they know, in my opinion, as a 39-year-old gamer, that games today are the best they've ever been. But, you know, take Star Wars, the two new Star Wars Jedi games, okay? Survivor and Fallen Order, okay? Those are amazing games, in my opinion. Those are those two games compose the single best Jedi experience I have ever had. Second up would be Jedi Knight 2, Jedi Outcast, and maybe Jedi Academy would follow after that. This is in the running after that, okay? It's not great, it's short, but it's sweet, like I said. And as a Golden Age LucasArts game, it had a certain authenticity to it, you know. For instance, in between all the pre-rendered and kind of real-time console rendered cutscenes, you have all these great snippets from the movie, which is what spoiled it for me. That's cool, man. That's cool. They don't make games about the movies anymore. Why don't they make games about the movies? Could you imagine if there was an Empire Strikes Back video game made for PlayStation 5? It would blow people's minds. They don't do this anymore. Probably because they learned a long time ago most people don't want them. That's it. That's all I got to say. This is a good Star Wars game. Check it out. You won't be, well, maybe you'll be disappointed, but that's really not my fault. Okay? That's on you. That is on you.
School when I was 9, told me she had feelings, she had lies.